What's up, my peoples? Henry Flowers here, Powerful Living Outreach Ministries. I wanted to jump back in on this subject. I got an email from a listener who challenged me, so to speak, and this will be the second part of embracing confrontation. I got a lot to say because this emailer challenged me on a man issue. And so in this podcast where I've been talking about embracing confrontation, and I talked to you about when I was struggling, sitting in the car, thinking about what to do with this thing that was going on in my heart, and there was something going on outside the car, and it really got a grip on me, and I felt like it was time for me to take a stand. Listen, this is about you taking a stand in your life. There's too many believers, man, who have absolute dynamic supernatural power available to them. And we just have these places in our hearts where we don't want to take a stand on nothing. It's like you want God to bless something, but you ain't giving God nothing to bless. Because you're not standing up to the giants in your life. Come on, somebody. Man, you better hear me today. You're not standing up to the giants. Listen, there's no way that God would allow the supernatural power to show up in David's life in order to slay the giant Goliath had David not ran toward him. So he didn't walk after people tried to give him armor and these big old swords and stuff. This little boy, this can't wear this armor. And now he's running toward the giant. And there's people, listen, there are situations in your life that are giants in your life. I just dropped off a passenger who's on her job, and there's this person who's passive aggressive, walking around speaking to everybody else but her, and she's crying in my car. What do? Do I go and talk to her and say, hey, what happened to us? Because the last time I did that, she said, hey, listen, don't ever come at me like that again. Because all she did was walk up to the girl and say, hey, listen, what did I do to you? Why are you ignoring me? Like, we used to be cool. We've been tight for the past 2 years. What is going on? And then the girl went off on her. Don't you ever come at me like that again. I can't believe you. And all this kind of stuff. And so, yeah, you can go ahead and get that, son. Yeah, get that one. Yeah, that's okay. And so she's all upset, right? Because this is a person she cares about. And she's like, listen, I care about this person. And then me and her been tight. And all of a sudden she's not speaking to me and walks around the job and speaking to everybody. And this girl is crying in my car. And many of you are like that, man. There's situations in your life where, man, listen, you are just crying, bro. Hey, you go ahead and take that out there. Yeah, there you go. There's situations showing up in your life where you just crying. You just crying. Yeah, out there, close the door behind you. Yep, thank you, brother. You got these situations that's going on, and you losing power. Like, these people are literally bullies in your life. This situation is a bully in your life. And here you are, you're supposed to be a child of God. All this almighty divine power, this supernatural power is supposed to be on your side. And you got people in situations bullying you to the point where you can't get nothing done, losing your peace. This person said she don't even want to go to work no more. Talking about moving jobs. And what is there to do? What is there to do? This person is saying, listen, this person is causing me grief on a serious level. So listen, that's what we're going to be talking about, because somebody challenged me via email today. I'm jumping on the challenge. I'm telling you, I'm going to address this question. It's a man issue. Now, this is not men only. So if I ever put up a video that says men only, just trust me, I'm going to talk about men issues. And if you're a female and you get offended by something that I talk about because you listened to a video that was men only, okay, then this is just on you. You can email me if you want to, but I may or may not respond. I probably won't if it was men only. But this one is about men. And ladies, you definitely need to hear this one. Word is born. You need to hear this one. So Henry Flowers, Powerful Living. Listen, if you're in the Cincinnati area and you want to come and have one of these sessions with us in person, Powerful Living Outreach Ministries. Listen, we are at 5616 Wolf Pen Pleasant Hill Road. We are at the upper room inside General Dentistry, right there, a block from Milford High School or Milford Middle School. We just a block over right there. Listen, Tuesdays at 7 p.m. You want to be there because we record the podcast, we get into some great music, and then we record the podcast. And after the podcast, we practice and work through these distinctions that I'm talking about. Because see, remember, I'm talking about moving people from powerful church services and powerful sermons to powerful living. Okay? Nothing wrong with powerful church services. I'm for that. Nothing wrong with powerful sermons. I can do that. But there seems to be a disconnect somehow that where the power doesn't show up in your life, where people on Sunday preach the gospel into something that's declared the principle of God. That's what it literally means to preach, is to declare something. These principles are declared, but somehow there's a disconnect where you don't get really the opportunity maybe to practice these principles in real time with somebody, whether it's role playing or there's somebody that you actually have a problem with and they are there with you. That's what's available. Tuesday night, 7 p.m., 5616 Wolf Pen, Pleasant Hill Road. We are in the upper room at General Dentistry. If you want to call us, it's 513-404-7793. Give us a call, leave me a voicemail. You can text me with show ideas, questions, topics, whatever you got. Like this person here chimed in and wanted to challenge me on what I talked about in the first video about embracing confrontation. So listen, we're about that. If you want to send us an email, powerfulliving2022@gmail.com. Go ahead and chime in. Whatever you got that's on your heart, jump in there. I don't care. Send me, because what I talked about was the idea of me confronting some pro-life people who were sharing explicit pictures of children that have been aborted. Listen, you want to go back and listen to that first podcast. Yeah, embracing confrontation, the first one. This is the second one. Now, this is one in response to an email that I got, and I'm going to respond. This is going to be good. So listen, we're talking about the opportunity for you as believers, man. And listen, I'm talking about people who want to live a powerful life, because that's what Jesus said he came to give us. He said, there's a thief and he's out to kill, steal, and destroy in your life. And just like this passenger who was in my car, there's somebody at her job is trying to kill her, live spiritually, steal her peace, and destroy the work environment that she's been in for so long. And I talked to her and I directed her to the first podcast series of self-esteem, working on yourself, confronting yourself. Man, sometimes before you confront anybody else, man, you got to confront yourself, your own demons, your own personal flaws, that part of you that wants to be loved by people, and you struggle, and then you got this person who's at your job and she's saying all this stuff and being passive aggressive and not speaking to you and doing all this stuff. There's a personal problem going on in her to where she's allowing herself to be treated this way. So I directed her to that one. This last podcast was about, me confronting some pro-lifers. And, many of you know, if you know my history and you follow me for a while, I am pro-life, staunchly pro-life, unapologetically. I believe that from the cradle to the grave, from the womb to the tomb, that life is precious. From birth, from conception till natural death. Not just from birth, from conception till natural death. I believe that God has placed eternity and divinity on the side of each one of us from conception. And so this person chimes in, and I'll just shorten the email with this person who says, let me pull it. Well, I'm not going to quote it all together. Basically, this person is challenging me on, let me just sum it up. Who are you to tell a woman what to do with her body? Yeah. Milk does a body good. Remember those commercials? That's funny. Who am I to tell a woman what to do with her body? So this is really good. So this is going to be the second installment of Embracing Confrontation. And this is a confrontation. And I'm going to speak to men because this is a man that chimed in on this. And this is interesting because I've heard this a couple of times before. I think most recently I heard this I love Stephen A. Smith, sports broadcaster. He's also now got his own podcast, No Mercy. Listen, if you want a powerful way to jar your thinking and to be pushed on some of the things that you think you believe, I encourage you. Stephen A's podcast, No Mercy, KNOW, No Mercy. The same place you'd find my podcast, Powerful Living. That's the same place you find Stephen A's podcast, No Mercy, KNOW, No Mercy. And Stephen A. recently said that. He says, I'm against abortion. I don't like abortion. And he says, but I'm also against a man telling a woman what to do with her body. So that's where I heard that most recently. And then now this person chiming in. And so on this same subject. So I'm going to jump in there. Deal with it. Turn the trash can over. Let him out. That's my son telling me there's a possum in the trash can. Hey, confront him. Go to that trash can and confront.
I didn't know what to do. I shook it to see what was in there, and I saw his little face poke out. I was like,
Did he go?
no, he was just looking at me.
Yeah, that's a whole possum. And confront that possum, brother. Tip that trash can over and let him out. Hey, so when it comes to confrontation, listen, these are principles and distinctions that I'm practicing. This ain't something that I'm just preaching. I try to practice what I preach. I joined the Navy right after high school, but before the Navy, man, I was raised on the streets of Detroit. Brother, I understand confrontation. And sometimes confrontation comes whether you want it or not. And then I joined the military and served my country for 4 years, right smack dab in the middle of the Desert Storm War. Man, listen, I can tell you about confrontation. And so here I am, a minister of the gospel. My job is to help you grab a hold of these principles that God wants you to master so that you can confront your life and get your life to the place where you are living the life that Jesus promised. Because he talked about the thief coming to kill, steal, and destroy. But he said, listen, I've come that you have life and have it more abundantly. He says a rich and fulfilling life is what that's literally translated to in English. And so here's this young lady saying, man, this person at my job is on my nerves. And I said, listen, confront that situation. You don't necessarily have to confront her, but are you confronting you and your desire to be loved by everybody? You want to get along with everybody, and you want to allow people in your life that take away your peace. That is not God's will. It is not God's will for you to just allow people in your life all the time. Just say, everybody don't get access to me. And they just don't. Listen, I reserve myself and my energy and my powerful living for people who want to be powerful, for people who contribute good things to my life. And I'm gonna give you an opportunity. I'm not a prude. I don't have the scale that you need to meet in order to be in relationship with me, but I'm just saying I protect myself. I protect my soul because there's an enemy that's out for my soul. He ain't playing games, y'all. He ain't playing games. He is out for your soul. And so here we are with this whole content and this topic around the pro-life thing. Stephen A. Smith says, hey, a man shouldn't tell a woman what to do with her body. And here's somebody else chiming in via email saying the same thing. Okay, that's cool. Let me start off by saying this. Just listen, unapologetically, I believe that God called men to lead. You see it in the scriptures. God called men to lead. Now, I understand what Paul said about women and that kind of thing. I ain't on board with that. I haven't been around long enough. I didn't study the scriptures. Listen, I understand what Paul was saying. He was talking to a certain people at a certain time and in a certain culture. I believe God called men to lead, and I believe God did not forbid women to lead. He did not forbid women to lead. But he created man first. And he gave man dominion over the earth and all these assignments, naming the animals, taking care of the garden, this kind of stuff. And woman came along because God said it's not good for a man to be alone. All the men of God in the scriptures led, all the people, and they were not perfect people. So we ain't even going to go down that route. But this whole idea that a man does not have the right to tell a woman to do anything with her body. What do you do? Man, listen, first of all, that is a monumental failure of leadership if you subscribe to that idea. A man should not tell a woman what to do with her body. Brothers, listen, I think Lizzo had it right when she asked the question, Why men great till they gotta be great? Did you? Why are men great right up until they gotta be great? They gotta be great. Why they do all these fantastic things right up until the moment of truth? Why men great till they gotta be great? Till they gotta be great? She had it right. That's a great question. You know why? Because this is the fallen humanity is further away from God and therefore further away from the dominion that God placed in him, right? And so you have these men that just don't want to be manly men, godly men. And I understand, especially Stephen A. I can't wait to hear his book. His book is coming out. I've got the audiobook already on reserve. You know, he's raised around women. I think he doesn't talk much about his father. I'm waiting to hear those details, hopefully. But I know he had great respect for his mom. God rest her soul. He lost his mom not long ago. He got 5 sisters, I think he said. So he's raised around women. This great reverence that he has for women. He talks about his mom and says she's the most perfect person he's ever known, right? He talks about his grandma. He said nobody ever loved him like his grandma. So he's got these great female figures in his life. And I'm very similar. My dad was around, but he was not in my life. I know who my dad is, but I have no relationship really with my dad. And I was raised by, my mom and then my aunt as I was a teenager. You'll read my book, Bored to Death. Go to Amazon and look up my book, Bored to Death. You'll hear my story. And so, listen, I get that you want to have reverence and respect for women. And listen, you talk about 9 months of their body being used, so to speak, is just a word that I can come up with right now. And you don't want to be a man saying, hey, I'm going to tell you what to do. And so, now she's got to go through 9 months of labor. And then this is a real subject, man. Like, this is serious. Like, listen, I got a daughter. If my daughter was raped, listen, I would understand that her not wanting to carry that child. I would understand. But listen, I'm telling you, I would do my best motivational speaking, if you will, to try to talk to my daughter about the value of life and how precious it is. And my daughter already knows I'm pro-life, right? So she already knows what I'm going to say if that ever went down. I pray it never does. And so I would understand the difficulty there. But listen, men, God called you to difficulty. He called you to be great when you gotta be great. No position of leadership is gonna be easy. God called you to do the hard thing. And so the person who would ask me, how dare you as a man tell a woman what to do with her body? My first comment is, listen, God called men to lead. In difficult situations, people need leadership. They need leadership. And that's what God called us to do and to be. And so what does leadership look like? Leadership looks like exposing the truth when it's necessary, especially when people are being told a lie. A fallacy, you know what a logical fallacy is? A fallacy is this idea that you grab a hold of and you grab a hold of it as truth and fact, but it's based upon flawed logic. Man telling a woman what to do with her body, that is a fallacy. That is a logical fallacy. And I'm going to expose that. I'll make my least poignant points first. Come on, man, you better ride with me because I want you to grab a hold of this. We're talking about confronting this issue, the issue of life. And we're going to start with the question that Lizzo asked. Why men great till they gotta be great? You do all of this good stuff, and then in the moment of truth, when you actually gotta be great, when folks need you to be great, you ain't great. There's a problem with that. Lizzo even recognized it. So here we go. I think my first response to this idea, man should not tell a woman what to do with her body. So let me just go with the easier points first. Okay. Excuse me, sir. Let me ask you a question. Did she conceive that child by herself? Yeah. So she didn't. And here you are, not wanting to tell a woman what to do with her body. Well, guess what? During the time of conception, you ain't had no problem telling her what to do with her body then. You was telling her everything, giving her all kind of instructions. Yeah. Now, when it comes to life on the line, now you want to yield to her. You wasn't yielding to her during the process of conception. See, that's a point where you missed it, Mr. Man. I'm talking to the men. Ladies, I'll deal with you later on another. I'll promise you I'll deal with you on another. But this one, I'm talking to the men. Yeah. Why you wait till you gotta be great to not be great? You great any other time. You was great in that moment, even if it wasn't only for 15 minutes, sometimes 30 minutes, an hour, some of you. Great. Gotta laying in the bed, shaking like a leaf. She can't even control herself no more. Passed out. She done passed out. And you sitting there pounding yourself on the chest, if not literally, figuratively, in your mind, sweating. You was great. And now when it comes to saving a child's life, now you ain't great. Now you don't want to lead. Now you don't want to tell her what to do with her body. You better think about that. I wrote so many notes, I can't get to all of this in one podcast. So, okay. Wow. All right, man, here we go. I'm gonna just do this. Okay, here we go. Because I'm trying to mince my words, make sure I don't offend anybody, say anything unnecessarily harsh, because this is a real sensitive subject. Okay, man, listen. So, a man should not tell a woman what to do with her body. Here's where I will confront that flawed logic. Guys, from the founding of this country, men have written laws. You already know where I'm going, don't you? There's not a single law on the books that does not tell not just women, all people, what they can and can't do with their body. There's all kind of laws. Do you have a problem with those? Why not? So why men great till they gotta be great? What is the deal? Is there maybe that you don't want the confrontation? I'll deal with that later. Maybe you don't want the confrontation of coming to her and saying, "Hey, listen, we got to save this baby. We're gonna have this baby. I know it ain't perfect, but we're gonna work through this together." Maybe you just don't want that confrontation because you're gonna hear something from her, and there might be consequences that you don't like. But brother, I'm telling you, man, God called you to lead. And so we have all of these laws. It says on the books, you cannot take your foot, your body, stomp onto the accelerator in a car and exceed the posted speed limit. That is a law which, because of the way this country was founded and mostly men were there voting, I don't even want to get into that and that kind of history, right? Men were telling people, all people, what to do with their bodies. Yeah. And now this area of life where there's a child's life hanging in the balance. Now, at all the hours before where you were great, now in this area, you don't want to be great. Is it because you have this great reverence for women? I understand that. And listen, reverence for women, I love my mama. And there are times where my mama gets her way. And there are times when I say to my mama, Mama, I love you. But this is what's going to happen, especially if it's in my house. I love you, Mama, and this is what's going to happen. Right? There are times where a man has to stand up and do the hard thing, even when it comes to people that he loves. It's not easy. And so there's all those laws and all those times with all of these laws where we say, listen, we telling people what to do with their bodies. Here's something for you to consider, men. Here's something for you to consider. I have this experience with pregnancy centers that are all over the country. They open up to young women who come in and they want answers. Is it abortion? Is it life? What do I need? Do I need diapers? Well, all this help that we deliver, these pregnancy resource centers that they have, as they've been called in the past. And so these places are open, and I've done work raising funds for these facilities. Millions of dollars. I've been delivered keynotes and done trainings and all these kinds of things, building the bullpen, building the men's side of the ministry at the pregnancy centers, so that when the guys come in and drop their females, the ladies off, they don't get to just sit in the car. No, I'm walking out to the car saying, hey brother, I'm Henry. I'm a male mentor here. Come on back in the office. I got some things I want to share with you. And they come in and you get to share your life. And a lot of times these guys are just afraid. They don't necessarily want an abortion. They just want answers. They just they're afraid. They're not sure they can make it through this. They're not sure they're ready to be a father. But here's what I found. Statistically, look it up for yourself, because you won't believe any kind of link. If you are opposed to this idea, you're not going to believe any kind of link that I send you. So you look it up yourself. You do the research. Look up the fact that all of the females who come to these pregnancy resource centers, 75% of them say that if the male had said that he wanted to have the child, they would choose life. I'm telling you facts. You can look up yourself. The decision upon life or death, whether to have the child or have an abortion, was in the minds of those ladies. When they checked the survey, they said, if the father would want me to have the child, I would have the child. I'm giving you facts. Why men great? Till they gotta be great. That's men telling women what to do with their bodies. So this is interesting. And so, listen, you can look those facts up. And I won't be on this long. Here's my final point. My first point was about, first of all, God called men to lead. And we should be unapologetic about that. He did not forbid women to lead. And he called men to lead. Okay, so that's a whole message by itself. Secondly, listen, guys, you didn't have no problem telling her what to do with her body during conception. Why are you quiet now that there has been conception? Why men great? Right up until they gotta be great. They need you to be great. And then 75% of the females who come through pregnancy centers said that if the guy said that they want him to have he wants her to have the child, they would have it. See, she's looking for your permission, asking for your permission, wanting you to say yes to it. But guys, we fail. We fail because a lot of times we sit around here running around with women, more than one woman, and just running them down anything that sits still long enough. We up in it as fast as we can. That's your carnal flesh. That's your carnal mind thinking about yourself and your own pleasure, and leads to these possibilities of abortion. And 72% abortions or more happen in the Black community. Why is that? There's a whole other podcast available to talk about that. I'm giving you facts, brother. And so this other fact is that 75% of women say that if he said yes, I would say yes to life. But he wants me to get rid of it. Yeah, I was that person. Sat back in the car, paid my little $300, sent her in there by herself, and sat back while she went in there and took the life of my child. You know why? Because I was thinking about me. I was thinking about me and my life and the fact that I wasn't really into her, definitely didn't want to commit to her. I'm in the Navy. We about to go on a 6-month cruise. I'm going to be out of here. And when I come back, I'm probably going somewhere else. I ain't really feeling her like that. So, yep, going in there and having an abortion. That's called being great. Till I gotta be great. And then I step back and I fail in leadership. 75% of women say if he said yes to life, I would say yes to it. All right. And finally, men, listen. This is the crux of the logical fallacy that men shouldn't tell women what to do with her body. Here's what's real. We actually talking about 2 bodies now that she has conceived. It's not her body anymore, young man. That's your seed. That is your seed. That is your child in that womb. Because last time I checked, the female only had 1 spinal cord, 1 set of arms, 1 set of legs. Last time I checked, the female only had 1 heartbeat, 1 brain. Now, it is a fact that females are a lot smarter, quicker than men a lot of times. So I feel like they got 2 brains. But I'm telling you, brother, at the time of conception until natural birth, that child has a brain. Okay? And you might think she's twice as smart as you because she got 2 brains, but no. That brain in her womb is not hers. And so the idea that you grab a hold of life early at conception, listen, the scripture says, God said, I knew you before you were in your mother's womb. And I had plans for you to give you a good life and an expected end, a future. I had plans for you. And it happened even before you were in your mother's womb. And he says, in the womb, I knit you together and put all your bones and made all your sinews work together, your joints and your marrow and your brain and your fingertips, all those things that God made happen in the womb. He says, I did that for you. He knew you. There's a person in there at the moment of conception, that divine spark which says life is happening. Brothers, that is no longer her body. And yes, because of the way the law is set up, she absolutely gets to choose on her own because she don't need your permission to have an abortion. She don't need your permission to end that pregnancy, to kill that child. She don't need your permission. But we talking about man telling a woman what to do with her body, because that's what the email said. That's what Stephen A says. He's opposed to that. And all I'm saying is let's be reasonable, and if there's a logical fallacy, if there's a flaw, if there's something that's unreasonable, I want to point it out. I want to confront this thing and says, okay, you can be pro-choice, but don't be pro-choice based on a misconception. Just be real with it. Just say what you actually mean and say it with your chest, dude. And if you're going to be great all the time. Don't be great right up until the moment where you got to be great, where we need you to be great, where somebody's life depends on you being great. Be great all the time. Be consistent. Gaining wealth in your life is about consistency. Gaining wisdom and knowledge and understanding is about consistency. Working on a relationship with a female is about you being consistent, not having one big old shiny moment on Valentine's Day or Sweetest Day or on her birthday or on your anniversary. You got to be consistently a good man. Men, it don't make no sense to be great all that time, right up until the point where you got to be great and then you fail and you step back and you're no longer a leader, the leader that God called you to be. And this is what we're talking about when we're talking about this idea of telling a woman what to do with her body. Men, God has called you to be confrontational. He's called you to do it. And in the realm of powerful living, being confrontational is about taking on the things that are in front of you that are causing you not to live the life that God called you to live. It's time out for folks going up in church and having a powerful service and listen to a powerful sermon, and you leave there the exact same way that you came. Nothing actually changes. There's no real distinctions that you're working through. There's no real power that you grab hold of and learning these processes so you can master how to be successful and how to have a rich and powerful life that he promised you. It's time out for that, men, especially men. It's time out for you being great right up until the point where you got to be great, where other people need you to be great, and then you fail. That, my friends, is not God's best for you. That, my friends, my brothers, men, that is something that we need to confront, that we need to deal with right now, right here. So I'm telling you, I'm practicing what I'm preaching, and I'm confronting you, man of God, and saying, God called you to lead. God called you to confront. And God called you not just to tell a woman what to do with her body, but God called you to be his voice in her life, and it's 24/7. Not great up until you got to be great, but it's 24/7. God's men doing God's thing, God's way, and God's timing, and that's all the time, my brother. Henry Flowers, Powerful Living Outreach Ministries. I ain't going nowhere. I'm coming back.